Hello everyone and welcome to Evike Europe Studios. For those that don't know me yet, I'm Max and I wear cool stuff while making tutorial videos for you, European airsofters. And I love it! Today we'll talk about a topic that should be pretty useful to most beginners and experienced players too. After playing a few games with your brand new stock AEG, you should have noticed that many players have airsoft guns with way better performance than yours. If you ask them why, they may have told you that they sacrificed a few dozen virgins during a dark ceremony, granting them superpowers when playing airsoft. Or maybe they're not weirdos like me and simply upgraded their airsoft gun. Casuals, always ruining the fun. But what the heck is an upgrade? Well, it's when you use aftermarket parts to replace the stock ones to improve accuracy, range, rate of fire, reliability, and so on. At first I had your curiosity, now I have your attention. But now things are getting more complicated. How to open an AEG replica and replace critical parts without breaking it. Not to mention that opening a replica will always remove the warranty, potentially turning every error you could make into the dupe of your brand new toy. You may not be familiar at all with mechanisms and stuff. That's okay, we all started somewhere. For my part, I designed nuclear reactors at 6, but that's okay, I won't judge you. And because I'm a good person and I'm paid to make tutorial videos, I will show you how to properly upgrade your AEG replica with 3 new elements. And we will see it on the 2 most popular AEGs, the AR-15 family and the AK family. In this video, I will use very simple tools, such as
a medium flat screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a set of X keys, silicone oil, a hammer, a nuclear bomb.
Let's start with the hop-up bucking.
A hop-up bucking is designed to make the babies that eat it spin on themselves towards the skies, hence improving their flying time thanks to what is called the Magnus effect.
And why do we do that? Mostly to increase range, but also grouping depending on the bucking we select. In our case, we consider that our stock AEG is somewhere between 0.8 and 1.5 joules with 0.20 grams limit, which should be around 300 and 400 FPS. We'll also consider that the BBs that will be used inside this AEG are either 0.20, 0.23, 0.28, and most probably 0.25 grams. 0.25 grams being the most commonly used BB weight for AEG replicas. Therefore, the hop-up bucking we should go for is a medium one, which is around 50 to 60 degrees of hardness.
The hop-up bucking is installed around the inner barrel, and the BBs will simply hit the small part that appears in this small window here. The inner barrel with the hop-up bucking are both locked into what is called the hop-up unit or hop-up chamber. This part is responsible for driving the BBs out of the magazines into the barrel, but also allows adjusting the hop-up bucking position to find the perfect tuning. The goal is to get a flat trajectory, with a small rise of the BBs at the end before the fall.
Depending on the weight of your BBs, you may need to adjust the hop-up differently. For the inner barrel, I personally recommend to go for a 6.05mm inner diameter one. I think they grant the best performance without modifying the power of the airsoft gun too much.
But you may choose another inner diameter, like 6.03mm, which has always been a popular choice, but that will probably increase your FPS and joules, because there will be more air behind the BBs to push them out.
The inner barrel, also called precision barrel sometimes, is made to improve accuracy and BBs grouping. They can be made in many different materials, but my all-time favorite will always remain the ones made in steel.
The inner part of the barrel should be mirror polished, sometimes receiving a special coating on it to ensure the BBs will slip into it with great ease.
Enough theory, now let's get started, my younglings.
So, here's a name for AEG. First, remove the front pin with a pin remover. Then, remove the upper receiver by pushing it towards the front. Beware of the charging handle. You may have to pull it to help the upper go forward. Also, beware if you have front wiring. You don't want to rip your cables. Know that the gun is open. Remove the upper chamber and inner barrel by pulling them. Then, you can remove the C-clip. Which is this small plastic part that holds the inner barrel inside the upper chamber. Holding the upper chamber with the well towards the sky, you can now remove the inner barrel from the upper chamber. But do it slowly, you could rip your bucking in the process. If the bucking is too hard to be taken out, use a few drops of silicone oil on it to ease the process. Discard the upper chamber with the well always facing the sky. Now you can remove the bucking from the barrel. There is also this small metal ring that must be inserted between the barrel and the upper chamber to prevent the former to wiggle inside the latter. It is sometimes maintained with an O-ring. You need to keep the upper chamber in this position because there is a little rubber nub that pushes on the bucking to make the magnet effect that could fall apart if you check the chamber the wrong way. And it's a real pain to put it back in. Now it's time to put it all back together. I advise you to put a few drops of silicone oil on your new bucking before pushing it back into the upper chamber. There is a long thin notch at the bottom of the inner barrel that should face you when putting it back into the chamber. When the barrel is well placed, you should see the two large notches on each side of it appear inside the C-clip window. Put the C-clip back in place. You may have to play with the barrel a little bit to ensure the C-clip is well positioned. Now it's time to put the metal ring back in place between the chamber and the barrel, as well as the O-ring if there's one. Then, put the unit and barrel back into the upper receiver. When putting the upper receiver back on the lower, you may have to move the charging handle a bit. It can open the ejection port cover that must be closed not to be stuck into the pin if the latter is not fully removable. If you have front wiring, put the cables back in place gently. You may have to move the upper chamber a bit to grant them enough space. Close the AEG by pushing the pin. On an AK, you must first remove the gearbox from the receiver by removing the pistol grip with a screwdriver. Then you must use pliers to remove the selector. Remove the top cover. Remove the bolt catch rod guide and its spring. Remove the bolts by pulling it backward and up. Now you must separate the upper unit from the AK body by removing the two screws on each of its sides. Push the barrel forward. Now you can push the gearbox up. Beware of the selector mechanism parts on each side, as the inner barrel may be too long on some AKs. You will not be able to remove the assembly from the body. You will then have to remove the C-clip and then the upper unit from the inner barrel with all that stuff still inside of your AEG's body. Don't forget to make the chambers well face upward. You will then be able to remove the barrel and replace the upper bucking in the same way as from the M4.
Are you okay? You sure? You happy with this tutorial? Well, it's time to subscribe to this channel then. It's 50-50. I'm waiting. You're done? Great! Now let's get back into the fun world of upgrading. Well, Now that we change the inner barrel and the open bucking, we will improve the full auto rate of fire of this AEG and its responsiveness when shooting in semi-auto. Because that's the meta gaming today. The motor is located into the pistol grip of most AEGs and is responsible for driving the internal parts, like the gears, the piston, the spring, and so on. And when you use a more powerful motor, you need a more powerful battery with a better capacity too, don't forget that. I therefore recommend you to go for a 7.4 volts LiPo battery after upgrading this part with a decent number of mAh.
Motors exist in different axis lengths and different RPM. Long axis motors are used in AR-15, M4, M16 AEGs, whereas short axis motors are used in AEGs of the AK family. There is also a medium axis, used in some rare AEGs. High torque motors are made for both compressing strong springs and improving semi-auto responsiveness, and also the full auto rate of fire. High-speed motors only grant an improved rate of fire in full auto, reaching their peak speed after having turned a few times. They are mostly indicated for MGs, LMGs and HMGs.
I personally always go for high torque motors because most of my AEGs are designed to shoot in semi-auto. Control fire for the win, baby! So let's see how to install this beast of a motor.
First, you need to remove the connector cap at the bottom of your pistol grip, using a X key or screwdriver depending on the screws. Then, remove each wire from the motor connector plugs gently with the tip of a flat screwdriver. There's always a longer and a shorter wire. Remember that when putting the new motor in, the shorter wire's color will determine which connector plug must be set closer to the wires. Here, my black or negative wire is the shortest, meaning that I must put the black connector plug closer, while the red wire will go all the way to the other side of the motor. Put the wire on the connector plugs gently. Both can break easily. Put the wires in a good position to ease the process of closing the cap. On an AK, the motor is held into a motor cage. First, remove the pistol grip. Then, remove each screws that hold the motor cage on the gearbox. Same as for the M4, remove the wires from the connector plugs gently and pay attention to their lengths. Open the cage by removing the screws. After replacing the motor and before closing the cage, don't forget to put the little coin back in place, here. Pay also attention to the position of your motor. The connector plug's color of the side of your motor that faces backward must be the same as the one of your shorter wire. If you don't, your polarity will be inverted, and when shooting for the first time, it will break all your gears. On an AK motor cage, you have a long notch made to accommodate the wires inside the pistol grip. If they don't stay in, you can use some electrical tape to maintain them in place.
Well, it seems that your AEG is now ready for the fight. You should notice an improvement of your range after firing a few hundred shots, as your pod bucking will gradually deform until being top efficient. As for the motor and the inner barrel, they will instantly improve your rate of fire, responsiveness and accuracy. Now you can go back to the field and show these pesky experienced players what you're worth. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If so, please like it, share it, and leave a comment about how you broke your airsoft gun thanks to me. Just kidding, don't do that. You shouldn't have broken your AEG. Did you? My name is Max for Evike Studios. See you soon, buddies, and play well.